All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to DevTool Time.
Hello.
Awesome. So I'm your host, TJ DeVries. I'm an engineer on the code intelligence team at Sourcegraph. And with me, I have my co-host to this direction, Thorsten Ball. Thorsten, you want to say hello?
Hey, hello. I'm Thorsten, also working at Sourcegraph. And yeah, happy to be here.
And his lighting is looking so much better than me today. So it's really making me think I need to up my game here. It looks like Thorsten's ready to stream on Twitch, though, for those of you out there waiting for that to happen.
I just need to figure out all the words you use, like what an emote is or something.
Yeah, we need to get you to figure out better Twitch TV, but we'll get there. We'll get there for sure. But our special guest today is Amir. Amir comes to us, and we're going to be talking about some very interesting hardware setups, I guess, and software, and sort of a very, different world of game dev than maybe your average game developer. So I think some really interesting topics. Amir, you want to say a little bit about yourself?
I guess so. I've done this before, and I'd go to like interview sessions, and I did some consultancy back in the day, and I was with one of my colleagues, and someone asked me the same thing, and I just was confused because every year has been different, especially just being Anyways, the guy, my peer said he's a code hobo. Just that's probably the best way to explain who this guy is. But I do a lot of weird things, cross-disciplinary skills, and I guess what I put on my little credit or what's called loan applications is that I'm a game dev. If I really want the loan, I'll say I'm a software engineer. But I guess that would probably be the first thing that comes to my mind: code hobo and game dev.
Let me jump in here. You undersell yourself, code hobo.
True.
Okay, for everybody here, Amir built build with a colleague built a Dark Room, the famous game that is on iOS and Android and now on Nintendo Switch. He works on DragonRuby, a game dev toolkit which has its own Ruby runtime included. Code hobo is underselling it.
Yes,
it's
agreed.
any of this useful though. That's the point.
Yeah.
So what can you do with this? I don't know. I mean, you can
write Ruby and make stuff show up on the screen. That's as good as code can get,
But it's not web scale. It just
that's true.
That's true. Maybe the next time, maybe the next edition of Ruby, we'll let you get there. So, all right. Well, we teased a little bit that there's going to be some interesting hardware stuff going on. So I'm gonna pass it over to Amir's shared screen, and as everybody can see, there's quite a list here of things, sort of a history, you might say.
Yep.
An epic. I don't even know what it would be.
All right. So first.
Let's underline the title, right? Like Evolution of Battle Station.
Yeah.
So this is a history of Amir's Battle Station setup, and just let's let the facts sink in. He documented all of this over the past. What is it like? You said 3 years, right? Like this is the past.
I started around late 2018, primarily because of wrist pain. I was starting to feel it. Like at the end of the day, there was quite a bit of fatigue, and I was like, I need to pay attention to ergonomics or deal with like $10,000 surgeries. So that's kind of what got me off my ass and started looking at this stuff. So the first and like high DPI monitors were becoming a thing too, and this was the starting point of my setup. So I went ahead and bought the ErgoDox, which is a split ortholinear keyboard, and what you're seeing on the main screens are two Dell ultrawide 38-inch monitors. So they were a pretty good deal, and I got rid of my desk completely, specifically from ergonomics. I had just enough space for my keyboard, and then to make sure my neck strain wasn't terrible, the second monitor is actually a little bit lower, so I'm actually I'm not looking down per se, but my eye level is about like right here, and then that's what allows the ergonomics of this to work and to deal with the neck strain. And so
Okay.
to get that working, I got rid of my desk.
So the bottom of the lower screen would be like my screen that I'm looking at right now, where I'm eye level with, the top third or something of the screen.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say you're craning your neck to look down,
Yeah.
but your eyes look down to see the bottom part of the bottom monitor, and then up to see the top part of the top monitor. So the 38 inches, the pixel density is really good on these, but yeah, they're a little bit tall, so that was kind of like my solution. So I'm thinking like 2 minutes per thing.
Yeah. Just a quick question. What was the thing before?
It was I just had like what my battle station looked like before.
Yeah.
I would just hunch over my laptop like an idiot.
Oh, wow.
You went from I have a laptop, I get neck pain, to I now have more screens.
I have neck pain. What's with the 15-inch monitor? Am I insane? And then
Nice.
And the doc is like, obviously, like, what are you doing all day? So this is another like view of the setup and kind of the floating aspect of it. I'm using Amazon Basics. Like there's like this. They've got like a wall mount thing that's really nice, and it does a great job of doing the monitors. I tried bias lighting. There's a Coding Horror blog post. If you Google Coding Horror bias lighting, he gives a lot of information on what that looks like and whatnot. You can, by the way, the square that you're seeing is where my eye is looking. So as I move my eyes around, you can kind of see that, and we'll talk about the eye tracker stuff at some point. But this is what it looks like with bias lighting right here.
What's the idea behind bias lighting? It reduces strain on the eyes?
Yes. So if you're in like a low light environment, it allows to have some light behind the monitor to kind of like bleed through, and it allows you to not have glare on your monitors themselves. Like if you have a lamp behind you, but you still get the lighting aspect. So you want to have lights above you and then behind the monitor, which gives you glareless viewing.
Nice.
So for some people that need the lighting, but the glare is annoying them, bias lighting could potentially be an option. And then having LEDs and just kind of taping them to the back of your monitors can give you that bias lighting.
How far away when you're sitting down in that, or when you were sitting down in that chair, are the monitors? It's like a little hard to tell from the perspective.
Yeah, they're if I stretch out my arms and put them in front of me, I can't touch the monitors.
Okay,
so
yeah,
they're far enough, and it's comfortable to look at from that perspective.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So I got rid of the orthodox for ergonomics issues. The issue is with these damn thumb clusters. The only useful like key would be just like that right there, but the rest of the ergodox was kind of not useful. And I was using like a shelf, which was like a heavy bookcase, and it made my knees like, I was like, man, this thing is heavy. Like it was hard to get into and everything. So I was like, I'm gonna go to Hobby Lobby, get like plank balsa wood, and then I just took like an X-Acto knife and just cut it into 2 pieces, and
nice.
And then I had it. And at this point, I started investing in like actual keyboard building. So this right here is actually it's called the BFO 9000.
That's a good name for a keyboard.
It's a great name for a keyboard. And I went with different switches. The other nice thing with having the split is that you can have your trackpad like right in between. In the off chance that I actually end up using the mouse. But I went with the balsa keyboard, redid the keyboard, built my own, and I've got some. This was better for my thumbs and whatnot.
This is the Apple Magic touchpad, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What firmware were you running on the keyboards at this point?
It was running QMK firmware.
Okay, cool.
Yep. And they have it's really well supported. You get over the compilation hump, and then you can create your own key maps and whatnot.
Yep.
One interesting thing that I did is that for people that have like multiple layers, one thing is I put all my layers or my symbols on a separate layer. But the caveat is that I use phonetic mapping. So instead of trying to think about, where the plus sign should be relative to home row, plus is mapped to layer 2, letter P. So when it comes to memory stuff, it was if I want to type plus equals, I'll temporarily go and tap dance to layer 2 and type PE, and I get my plus equals. So doing that for all my symbols significantly increased my typing speed over in addition to going ortholinear, but that was a big boost. Everyone asks, why the hell do you have so many screens? There's no way you can use all these screens. So this is just an example of the screen real estate that you get. Each one of those browser windows are 1280 by 720p. So I've got Firefox on the left. You've got no, this is parallel. Sorry, I'm in a parallels window here, and then you've got Internet Explorer. Rest in peace, thank God. Chrome, and then this is your MacBook default resolution. So if you're in web dev and you've got to test multiple browsers, guess what? You can do it with this specific setup, and then have your main code on your most ergonomic monitor on the lower monitor. But it's useful.
in the past 4 pictures we saw, you maybe that's just how they were, but you reorganized the desk the screens. I
just set it up so I could have it in the frame, and you can kind of see what the real estate looks like, but then I put them back in.
Okay, but I guess the underlying question is, you went from a laptop to 4 screens in total.
Yes,
4 huge screens. How did you end up with that configuration?
I just turned it up to 11. I was like, I got the 38-inch, the initial 38-inch. I was like, I like this. This is nice.
It's a bit different than 16.
It's a bit different than 16. Why not 2? And then I tried putting them side by side. I'm like, this ain't going to work. So I was like, well, how can I want to use both of them. So then I stacked them. I'm like, now my neck hurts. How can I fix that? Some people would say, don't use the second monitor, but I was like, I'll get rid of my desk, because of course that's a brilliant idea.
We just had a question in chat asking exactly this. Does your neck ever hurt from looking at the top monitors? But if you don't have a desk, you lean back.
Well, if you don't have a desk, you can put the bottom monitor lower.
I see.
Right, and that's what I was saying. My eye level is usually, your eye level is right here, but then my eye level is actually around this area. So if I want to look at the bottom, I'm just moving my eyes down to see this bottom area, and then that gives you the vertical range that you needed, and that saves your neck.
Yeah, and but that means your main screen is the one at the bottom, right?
Yes, that's your primary screen. And the way the mounts work, you can actually tilt them up or down, so you can kind of have like a V shape also, and that significantly helps with those ergonomics. But yes, that's a very common. It's like, oh, this is going to kill your neck. It's like, well, no, because I thought about it and got rid of my desk. So no, I don't kill my neck. But the question is whether I should have even done this. Started this whole foray, but here we are.
now here we are. Let's keep going. Yeah.
Yep. So here's my keyboard setup. I have a Herman Miller for my primary chair. I tried the Human Skill. It's a really, really great chair if you're a bigger person, like with broader shoulders. I'm not a linebacker, so this the arms were just too far out and it wasn't comfortable. But as far as like the leaning capability and the adjustability, it was just really, really nice. This is my digital microscope that I use for soldering, and of course, I ended up getting. I found that the vertical screen that I had wasn't really useful, so I moved it over as a secondary screen to enlarge the soldering setup. But primary thing here is with these 2 things.
So you have a dedicated station for hardware soldering stuff, and then on the left
At that point in
your-
time, yeah.
All right, cool.
Because you needed a desk. I wasn't going to try to solder very hot 700 degree things on piece of balsa wood.
Yeah, we're
yeah.
both glad to hear that. That is
Yes,
a good
yes.
decision.
One important thing here is that think about your knees and the location of your feet, and make sure that when you're sitting down, your knees bend at a 90-degree angle and are not like flat down or up. So having a little boost or stool for your feet is helpful. I noticed this because the desk would be on my lap, and then next thing I know, I was like, wait, this isn't straight. And I found that, yeah, my knees, my legs, everything felt a lot better once I incorporated that aspect of it. So that's that. Yep. So I got rid of my vertical monitor. Wasn't really useful to have that. And these two monitors are my primary. That's the eGPU that powers all this stuff. You can power all this with a regular MacBook Pro through USB 3. But with the game dev work and some of the rendering stuff, it was worth getting an eGPU for the work I was doing. But I got rid of the vertical monitor. It wasn't useful. The two primary 38 inches were good. Unfortunately, I brought the desk back.
Oh, man.
Plot twist. So the challenge with the desk was that it was really comfortable getting into it. The problem is that it took a little bit of time. So you situate yourself, and then you realize you forgot something downstairs, and you'd be like, damn it. And then you'd get up, and then you sit back down, you're like, I forgot my coffee, damn it. And then it would just keep going. And it was just, you want to get in the zone, you want to continue working, and it was just a detriment to that.
Because you have the stuff on your lap, and you always need to... Okay, I see. Yeah.
Some other ideas that I thought about was there's like some monitor arms that you can apply to your monitor to get the keyboard to flip out and stuff. I wasn't about to get a 3D printer though, so I was like, all right, I'm stopping. I'm bringing the desk back.
When we have you back in 2023, it'll be like, and I got the 3D printer, and
I was going to say this is what they call foreshadowing.
Yes.
So if this were, exactly.
Yeah. This is going to happen. Someone's going to record this specific highlight. They're going to highlight this part of the Twitch, and it's like, what? Told you so. Here, where I did is I try to put the desk as low as possible, but the ergonomics just, because if you put the desk too low, then your keyboard alignment is bad, and your elbows aren't 90 degrees, and these 38 monitors are annoying. So I wanted to be cognizant of that. So then I was like, why not? I'll get a 49 ultra wide. And so I sold one of the 38 inches, and then I transitioned to an ultra wide. So the primary monitor at the bottom is your 49 inch ultra wide, and then I have the 38 on top. So that lowers the vertical height. What I do lose some code real estate, if you can tell. I'm losing about 4 to 5 lines, but I get an additional terminal buffer across the board. So it was a trade-off, and it's something that I was iterating on. Another issue with the 49 inch is the pixel density. It's a little bit lower, and once you do the Dell 38s, the pixel density is not as good as the displays on the Mac, but this is noticeably worse. So I'm actually looking at 720p on the vertical height, which was kind of rough. This was growing pains, but this did help my neck issue. My final setup actually puts the 49 as my secondary monitor, and we'll see that. But I wanted to try dual 49s just to see how it would work out.
If one is good,
why not try two? Y'all should be thanking me for putting all this work in, so y'all don't have to experiment with this stuff.
Yeah, I'm thinking
were
I might
bad
copy where
ideas.
you are now, but I'm glad I didn't have to buy the intermediate monitors.
Yes. Resale value is good, and it's a tax deduction. So because they were all business expenses, so that did help.
Mhm.
So I tried dual 49s. The horizontal real estate really was fantastic, and this is when I noticed that having the 49 on top was better. It's the monitor that you'll use a little bit less, so you can actually increase the pixel density to get more pixels on the screen. Without worrying about eye strain. And then your bottom monitor is you would want that to be your high DPI monitor. But that was when the realization came in. And again, because these monitors are shorter, you're saving your neck from careening too much. This is just another like pretty angle of it as far as like the real estate and stuff. This is one of my end game keyboards. This is the Nyquist. I ended up building that over time. I disabled the LEDs, but it was a cool little setup. Bose Quiet Comfort headphones, really light. I like those a lot. And then I transitioned to the XDR, the Pro XDR. And for shits and giggles, I turned my 49-inch monitor vertical just to see how ridiculously stupid it was. With this setup, you no longer need a scroll wheel. You just bring whatever website you're looking at onto the onto the 49-inch, and then you don't have to scroll anymore. You just have to have a neck of a giraffe, because this is like almost at 6 feet right here up. It's ridiculous. I ended up posting on Reddit saying that I was a CVS coupon receipt developer. It accidentally became so popular that the admin mods had to put a disclaimer saying like this is not a legitimate AMA with a CVS developer. Some of the comments were really mean. Some people really did not appreciate how much paper was wasted with CVS.
So the XDR display, right?
Yes.
You started this journey because the doctor told you need to fix your ergonomics or you need to get a $10,000 surgery.
Yep.
By now, the surgery would have been cheaper, I guess.
It's like, wait, hold on. Maybe I should have just got. Touche. And yes, then I go, and it's like, are you an idiot? Why are you buying a ridiculously expensive Pro XDR? And this was around the time when I started porting my games to console. So the challenge with console and the displays is you want the colors and your color levels and everything to look really good on all various TVs. So there's even a requirement that you have to even test standard definition TVs for the Nintendo Switch. So the challenge here is that, well, okay, I have a Ultra HD TV. Do I get I got to get the 80-inch flat screen. I got to get this entire spectrum to work off of, and that's a challenge. So how do you verify color levels within your game to make sure it's as best as it can look? And so answer one was buy various sizes of TVs and then try to HDMI into every single one of them to see what it looks like, or get something that guarantees that this color is exactly what it will be, and it's going to look as best as it can on whichever TV that you need. So
I mean,
I would not recommend getting a Pro XDR unless you have like those kind of like specific requirements.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things where it made sense to do that.
I was going to say, you have the Pro use case where you need to make sure that you actually are calibrated when you're developing stuff for different platforms, and you don't have to worry about all of that.
Yep.
That's cool.
And just as an example, like so this is kind of my final setup that
for now.
Asterisk until you get the 3D printer.
This is not. I changed the top monitor a few months ago, but we'll talk about that. So this is the 32-inch Pro XDR at the bottom, and then the top monitor is not running at pixel double resolution at 720p. It's enough to where I can put 3 1280 by 720p screens side by side, which is a fantastic amount of real estate. And especially for a secondary monitor, it really worked out well. And then, so the neck pain is not there because the 49 inch is shorter. I've got the high density primary monitor. Of course, my eyes are not that great anymore. Doctor's like, you got to fix your eyes. Fine, I'll get a Pro XDR. So the Retina is great there, and then the Mac on the side for dealing with whatever Spotify stuff that I have, and still got the same keyboard. So people are always skeptical about the Pro XDR, but these are the black levels on the Pro XDR. So this is daylight. I've turned every monitor to 100% brightness. So if you turn your monitor to 100% brightness right now, this is basically what you're seeing with regards to the display quality. And this is your baseline MacBook Pro monitor here. You've got your 49-inch ultra wide Dell, and you can already see like the color bleed on a pure black background. But the Pro XDR at 100% brightness looks like it's off. You can tell that it's on because I've got the toolbar at the top. Yeah. But that is the kind of accuracy you're dealing with when you're working with this kind of screen. People are brought up, oh, what about OLED? Well, I can't get a 32-inch OLED screen. So this is kind of the best option you have if you've got these kind of requirements. But the black levels are just amazing. This is the eye tracker here at the bottom, by the way. That's what you're seeing. That's controlling the little square.
Oh, it sits at the bottom and it still does it so well. That's impressive.
Yeah. So this little bar here, and it just tracks your eyes.
Nice.
And so I can look to the left and right, and
It sounds ridiculous, but how much better does terminal text look on that display?
Terminal text is beautiful.
Yeah.
Everything's really, really pretty on the monitor. Mm-hmm. You can tell. Like I use a font called Dank Mono. It's a great font with a great name. Mm-hmm. They spent the authors spent a lot of time with the ligatures and everything, and it looks really nice on the monitor. But it's a good screen. It's a good screen.
Is that a Remarkable tablet on the side there too?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. Best, really, really great purchase. I ended up getting the version 2 of it.
Yep. I've got the same.
Yeah, it's a great purchase. It really is.
What do you use it for? General note taking?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Quick note taking. It's actually got pressure sensitivity and tilt also. Mm-hmm. So if you want to do like quick sketches and drawings, you can do that. It's also nice. It's got different like page templates for grid paper versus college ruled versus all that. So drawing out different map setups or different to-dos it's nice to have around. It's the battery life. It's just lasts forever. And it's
because it's e-ink, so it's super nice. Yeah, and it feels so good to write on compared to other like electronic things, which I like quite a bit about it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. It's also got open source stuff that you can do too. It's got a whole open source community built around it, which is really, really sweet. So like I use it on my stream quite a bit, and there's an open source like thing called Restream where it just like you plug in over USB and you can live share, the whatever you're drawing.
It's really cool.
It feels like you're writing on paper, but it's live updating to the screen in like super, super real time. And it feels great.
You can hover
writing
over it. Like you hover the pen over it and it'll actually say like the pen is hovering in this area. They did a really good job with the setup.
Yeah. It's super
cool
nice
for remote collaboration and stuff like that.
Yeah, I use it quite a bit as well, like talking to teammates. I'll just be like, oh, okay, you're going to throw this up. We'll share. Okay, yeah, these things need to connect to here. This is that. Yeah, and then, the other nice thing is you've got them all saved too, right? So if you wanted to come back to a drawing or do whatever, transfer it to a PDF that you can send over Slack, it's like all there instead of like, I'll just take a picture of this paper that I did, So I like it quite a bit.
would be cool if it was synced. Like if all of us had one and we would draw on the same thing.
Yeah.
There was a question in chat, and since we already talked about this, let's answer this. Why do you use an eye tracker?
I lost sound.
Oh, you lost sound.
Oh, can you not
y'all
hear
hear
us?
me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can hear you. You're still here.
I can't. Oh, you're back. Sorry.
Okay,
All right.
no worries.
All right. What was the question?
The question was, it was a question from chat. Why do you use an eye tracker?
That's a great question. One, with streaming on Twitch, it really helped having the eye tracker when I was coding, because I'll swap windows or I'll be thinking about why is this bug, happening, and you just kind of sit there and think. But with the eye tracker in place, you can actually see like what lines of code I'm trying to reason through. I think it really helps with pairing also, and then just like remote sessions where you're pairing, with someone, and them seeing where your eye is looking, and it helps. And it's not intrusive too much. The other interesting thing is that from an ergonomic standpoint, I'm still playing around with it, but because it's generally accurate, if I want to click on a window, I can technically just look at the window and then press a key on my keyboard that, clicks where the eye tracker is looking. So your accuracy is about 200 pixels. So I probably couldn't, bullseye a specific tab, but for swapping windows, I could just look at a window and then press a key on my keyboard and click at the location of the eye tracker. So it's got some interesting ergonomic facilities there. Another interesting thing is that because of the eye tracker, my computer effectively knows when I'm actually at the keyboard. So I can set up processes that make the computer go to sleep immediately if I get up, or have sessions where I can do like screen caps as I'm working, and then if I'm not looking at the screen, then the background process doesn't run. So there's some interesting ideas that can come out of the computer knowing that you're present and interacting with it.
Cool.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yep.
All right.
And then
final tab. Yeah.
Yep. So final setup. The monitor at the top is different. This is the Odyssey G9, and the curves on this monitor are just insane. Like it's got a 1000R. This thing, you could see the curve right here. It's just stupid. But this significantly helped your peripheral viewing angles, and it's a 240 hertz monitor, which is really nice too.
Wow.
As opposed to the 49 inch, which was the previous 49, which was 60 hertz. So I've got a 240 hertz monitor on the top. Good screen real estate. Good ergonomics on your horizontal landscape, and then the Pro XDR on the bottom for your high density display encoding in a terminal window. And then you got your backup mics and then my in-game keyboards. I ended up creating a custom desk and just bolted it to the wall. So that's a 2x4 plank that just.
Of course you build a custom desk. Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to get any taller, so I was like, all right, well, this is.
Yeah.
That ship sailed a while ago.
Yep. So I set the height, set the level and everything, the distance, and just drilled everything.
And you have, what is it, like 3 MacBooks?
Yeah, so that's the M1, and then my backup disaster recovery. So if this Mac blows up, that second Mac is pretty much a direct clone, so I can keep working.
Cool.
And then the M1 processor, because we have, from a game engine standpoint and compilation and runtimes, got to make sure all the chipset architectures work. So I've got a M1 that I play around with and work with.
Cool.
Yep.
All right,
so that's all the setup stuff.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. I think just quickly, let's talk about keyboards just for a second. because I do want to move on to where you're doing dev. But Oscar in the chat asked, is the keyboard custom built, which you talked about briefly. But maybe you just want to give us, the 5-minute rundown of some of your thoughts about keyboards, where, how you got here, how you developed into this being the keyboard, all that kind of good stuff.
Yep. So this is a custom built keyboard. It's the Nyquist. It's a ortholinear, non-staggered. So the things are straight. So like you can see, it's just straight like that. As far as ergonomics, my thumb cluster's got a regular, like a key that slopes inwards instead of these keys, which are called XDAs. And then of course you got your little vanity key. This is from Nier Automata, one of my favorite video games from a vanity standpoint. If you wanted to get into keyboards, but you don't want to pay like the entry tax, I would get, there's a keyboard called a Havit, Havit, Havit low profile. And you want to get it with the low profile blue switches. And it's an $80 keyboard, and it'll give you a feel for what a really good, potentially good mechanical keyboard feels like. And based on if you like the clickiness and the feedback and the weight of the keys, that will help guide you on which switches to get. Because of course, you've got a various barrage of switches that you can pick on your keyboards.
Various is an understatement, I think.
So I ended up my primary switches are Kale box whites. So they're a linear switch, but they have a click bar. And that gives you feedback of actuation both on the down and upstroke. So you get a super clicky, nice little clicky switch. Of course, that changes the screen. Yeah. But it's a nice click. It's a light switch, so it doesn't affect my knuckles and wrists. If you want linear, my favorite linear switch would be the Speed Silver Cherry MX Speed Silvers, and if you want a tactile switch, the Xylence V2 are a fantastic switch. The Topra keyboard it's like a fine wine. It grows on you over time, and you end up like really liking it. The problem is that the Topra keyboard and the Topra switches, it's all staggered. So then I'm back to creening my wrists. But that it was a very nice keyboard to use. And the Xylence V2s are the closest tactile switch that I've found to what feels like the Topra. But yeah, you just need a soldering station and a little bit of practice, and you can unfortunately build your own keyboards if you would like.
All right, two other quick questions about keyboards from my end. The first one is what's some of your favorite QMK features people should look at if they've already got QMK, but maybe they're not, like exploring what's possible to do?
I would say definitely the temporary layer where you can hold a key down to go into a secondary layer, and that I use that quite a bit again for my symbols and whatnot. I tried a couple of the macro stuff. I thought I would use the macros a bit more, but I ended up not really using it that much. Yeah. But temporary layers and a phonetic symbol layer are big improvements that I've found.
Yeah, the phonetic symbol layer is pretty interesting. I've never seen anybody try and do it like that before. Usually I see people try and lay it out in some sort of pattern way. Like, so I have my symbols on my left hand, and I have like, all the different brackets, braces, things. I can hit them all with my front two fingers here, but I choose which one I want to do, which is fun. Oh, that's true. Asborn reminded me, I don't use it very often, but we were playing around with adding true and false keys. I was playing around on stream one time, adding a key that just types true.
Yeah. No, it's the macro stuff for me, it was the arrow operator. So it's for pointer dereferencing. I was like, man, I'm tired of typing this. But when I went to the phonetic layer, I would do DG. So D is dash and G is greater than. So having the memorization was a tough part. I always would forget what the keys were, but once I did phonetic, it really helped with that.
All right, then my last keyboard question is, have you ever tried any sort of concave keyboards? I recently switched from Ergodox to a Dactyl. I'll just hold this up here. And so I've gone concave. I'm wondering if you've ever experimented or have any thoughts on the concave lifestyle.
So the closest I've gone to concave is the key switches, like the DSA form factor that are like really high and kind of like scooped in and out.
Okay.
I was looking at the Kinesis. I haven't given it a shot. One thing with the Pro XDAs is that I like the XDA keycaps. Is I like the flat nature of it, and then the gap between the keys is also good. So it replicates the chiclet keyboard on the Macs himself. So I erred on the side of consistency between the two keyboards, as opposed to the potential comfort that comes from some horribly monstrous looking thing that should be euthanized they look scary.
It does look scary. It's always funny when I don't know any programmers in real life, I just know them over the internet, so when my friends come over and they like see my office and they just see like this sitting on my desk, they're like, this is weird. This is not okay. So anyways, okay, great. I just wanted to ask a few keyboard questions. So let's go ahead and move on to I'm not even going to say it hurts me because I'm excited to see the Emacs setup that you've got going on. So let's start there and talk a little bit maybe about DragonRuby as well.
Yep, you got it. All right, so this is I'll do split windows. So I'll have the view running on this side, and then my terminal stuff on this side. So I use Evil, right? So
we're brothers.
Modal editing is supreme. The other thing is I use Emacs and terminal with Tmux. Like, who does that? Apparently
that is a good question. I don't know who else does that.
Okay, so let's start at the outside in. You have the terminal emulator is not standard terminal, and it's not iTerm2. What is it?
Right. It's called Alacrity. Alacrity is actually pretty damn quick, and I wasn't using any of the tabbing or split features of iTerm because of Tmux.
Yeah.
And terminal that comes with Mac is quick also, but Alacrity is actually to the core. Its rendering pipeline is all GPU accelerated, so it's fast. And I found that general response, and response time is just better with Alacrity. So if you don't need split screens or any of that stuff, I would definitely give Alacrity a shot. And Tmux for my window and pane management, and terminal Emacs for my code environment.
Which you type V for as well, huh?
Well, because I was using Vim, and then I was using Vim and I loved it, and then I wanted to extend the editor, but then I had to write Vim script, and I didn't want to be on the Tim Pope bus, because if he dies, everything's bad. And so I was like, forget this. I need to use something that I can extend, and then that doesn't make me, tear my eyes out.
I just like imagining someone like stumbling across that alias in your dot files or something, and seeing alias V equals Emacs. Oh, I love it.
I have because I kept typing Vim, and it would actually open up Emacs, and people were like, you are a sick human being.
So is that also the reason why you ended up with Emacs in the terminal inside Tmux versus what most? Yeah,
basically.
Okay. Cool.
The other thing is that the terminal I know there's like plugins for terminal inside of Emacs, but the Tmux split your ANSI term that's native to the machine without piping through an intermediary. It's just faster. It keeps your Emacs environment really lightweight, which is a very valid concern, that you can get a really unfortunately large Emacs load time.
Yeah.
Don't you feel like you're missing out on some of the, I don't know, the power that Emacs has? Like, I like to think, like, I use Vim into Emacs in a terminal. The terminal is my IDE. Vim is just part of it. And I feel the philosophy behind Emacs is it's inside out. Like, everything is in Emacs, and the power comes from everything being in Emacs. Do you feel like you're missing out on some parts of that, where the shell is in Emacs, so you can run eLisp over anything in there or something?
Yeah, and for those situations, I can bring up eShell if I need to, and I can't, because I'm in terminal. Obviously, I can't like view websites or images in Emacs, which of course you can do. But I'll use Chrome for that. But my two primary things are the code editor, which is what I primarily use as my for Emacs, and then I'll use Tmux as my terminal window. But that was the primary separation for me. When you SSH into a box, I know you can use Tramp to go into a box, but at that point, I'll use SSH and Vim, right, and just kind of leave it at that. But cool. But yeah, so of course, I've got Evil set up. I can set the file, change it, and this looks incredibly red on my screen, by the way.
I believe that. My face, whole face color changed too.
let me just make it into an epileptic seizure instead. So we'll set each one of these properties to a random color.
So how close is what we're seeing right now to your daily, let's say, workflow when you're doing game development?
This is it right here.
Like split pane setup, Emacs terminal that does
right. So instead of split pane, my primary monitor resolution is much higher, and then the game is on my top display.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's all hot reloaded.
Yep. So if I go in, let's say I'm going to go in and I'm going to put a solid square at 0, 0, 100, 100. And then this is RGB values here. So I'm taking tick count is the current frame that it's on. And if I save that, we should see a little box in the bottom right hand corner. And tick count, let me just do that. Let's see what we get here. Let me make sure this is working. So
the eye tracker is useful.
0. Yep, you can
I know. I'm kind of wondering, do I need to do that for? I might need to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, why isn't the color updating with the values that I'm sending into state? So I can create a label. Labels. I'll put that at the top. We'll put it at 30. We'll put the Y at 600, and then the text will be. We go. So let's see if we get a label up there. So there's our label entry right there. And that's the current frame that it's on. So if I wanted to get the color value, let's say color, and this is going to be our red saturation. So I want to take and mod that by 255. Maybe I need to do a Evil Surround's pretty nice for changing like your parens. That's like one of the plugins. I think Vim Surround it's based off of Vim Surround. Shocking, I know.
Tim Pope plugin.
All right, so there's our number changing.
Nice. And so correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm never done any game development. I've only been watching from the sides. This is pretty unusual for game development, is it not?
Like, yes.
Like instant feedback.
Yep. And the most successful Ruby developer, Ruby game dev in the entire world, because I'm probably the only one right now.
So, but there's like a bunch of things that are unusual. First of all, it's Ruby, right?
Yep.
It's not a game development language, one of the standard
So you
ones.
think. Yep.
Yeah, but it's unusual that you have like this fast feedback loop, and then take an even bigger step back. It's unusual that you're on Mac at all, right? Like the most game devs, I think, are on Windows machines.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and I guess that's the interesting air quote secret is that the DragonRuby Game Toolkit, which is the engine that me and Ryan C. Gordon, he's the guy that worked on SDL. And he's got a Wikipedia page. Like, obviously, he's important at that point. But we actually do cross-platform compilation on Mac and Linux for Windows. So neither one of us uses a Windows machine for game development. And the really interesting thing with over my game dev period, or spending 7 years doing this stuff, was I got really tired of the engines and the feedback loops that were out there, and started thinking about, well, what can be done better, and what have I learned as an indie game dev, and this is kind of like the culmination of that stuff. So if we can even put a sprite on the screen, 100, and then the path will be sprites, square, blue.png. So I'll put a blue square on the screen. There we go. So there's our blue square. Let's say I want to change the angle, and I want to set it to args.state.takeCount and mod 360. There we go.
Yeah, very cool. That's so I've done just a few days worth of Unity, and it was not so easy to start running something or to have it update while I'm typing code.
Yeah. So this is going to blow you away. We are. I'll show you this link. Let's see, DragonRuby. Because everyone says, well, there's no way Ruby can perform as a game engine. There's simply no way. And here we have, I'm doing, in this case, where's the link? Time's running out. All right, yeah. So this is the latest release that we did or it's currently in beta. But we are rendering. No, I don't want to try this. We are rendering. That's the made with Unity. Okay, so this is 20,000 sprites. We're about to render. So a VNext. Let me show you the Ruby again. We're rendering. Come on, there we go. 20,000 sprites on the screen.
50
pure
frames
Ruby. 48 frames per second. Same thing in Unity.
Wow.
9 frames per second on Unity. So usually when I show the rendering performance and the iteration performance and what we are capable of doing, specifically because we're leveraging all the new Clang and C optimizations that exist, that's kind of my answer to the question about, is Ruby viable for game development? But yeah.
Yeah, what made you pick Ruby to why DragonRuby? Why not Dragon something else? You know what I mean? Like, what was Ruby?
Yeah. So I in 2013 I took like a sabbatical, and that's when I went into doing game development. And I was doing C# and .NET on a Windows machine. So talk about like getting rid of a desk and then getting 4 monitors. Get rid of your Windows PC. And I had a Windows phone. Get rid of the Windows phone, and buy a Mac, and flounder and be horrible for the rest of the time. And then at that point, I picked up. I wanted to do iOS development. I picked up Objective-C and Ruby, and ended up lucking out collaborating with Michael Townsend, porting A Dark Room to iOS, and it going viral. And so the original code base was in Ruby. It was using a product called RubyMotion. Objective-C is a powerful language, but it can be painful to write if you're unfamiliar with the language itself. So Ruby was a much more familiar environment for me. And then after that, I was like, well, now I got to go to Android. Okay, well, I'm not going to rewrite the entire thing in Java. we're gonna make Ruby Motion work for Android, and then it was like, well, now I need to go to the Switch. I'm not going to rewrite this entire thing. And then, so of course, yeah, you could say, why not just create an entire runtime to run your game? And that was the general trajectory. Aside from that, though, Ruby is one of the most powerful languages that I've worked with, and with regards to game development and artistic mediums, dynamic languages just kind of fit because I never know what I'm building up front, right? It's not like a banking system where you have withdrawals and debits and credits and bank account numbers and everything has this defined structure. Everything's just kind of incidental and accidental for that matter. I usually say that if you have a lot of high reuse in your game, you've created a boring game, because what makes the game interesting is novelty. But if all your enemy classes inherit from a base type with static properties on HP and attack damage, you've created a game that potentially foundationally doesn't have enough of those interesting moments in it. But I think a lot of those things in an artistic medium, dynamic languages, just makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, this here reminds me of the Brad Victor talk.
Yes.
Where
yes,
is it inventing on principle or something? But the point of the talk is, if you can make the feedback loop really tight, and if you can offer an easy way to interact with the code and the thing you're building, it's as if it was tactile. Like you can mold it, because you can what you're doing here, right? Like, let's bump up this number, see what that does, without thinking in advance. Yeah.
Yep. And we accidentally, because of the dynamic nature and this tactility, of course we have a heads-up display, and this thing can actually eval Ruby code inside of the heads-up display itself.
Oh, cool.
And so
you could do like enemy.retreat or something. I don't know how to write Ruby code, but you could like do something and just see what like happens in the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, very cool.
The funny publicity stunt that I pulled when releasing a Darkroom was that I actually shipped the REPL with the game, which allowed you to. Yeah, it was. You can read about it. It was a
nice.
It was fun. For certain definitions of the word fun, but that was a fun little story there. But it was just a way to have a proving ground that this is a very real environment I could work in. And this is how we got into game development, right? If you think about Gorillas.basic, the bananas getting thrown on the Commodore 64, I think. I mean, the code was right there. So you geek around and you change the code to see how it changes the game. And a lot of that was inspired from them. The Brett Victor talk was solid inspiration. But yeah, this is the feedback loop that ended up creating based off of the experience that I got.
Cool.
So in terms of like, I don't know, maybe like Ruby tooling or other things like that, someone in the chat asked, like, do you use LSP mode, or is that sort of like not possible to do with how things are working sort of in this Ruby landscape? Like, how are you managing things as it gets, more complex, as the project gets bigger? Yeah. How's that working?
So as an initial starting point, I just use C tags for everything. And with regards to our runtime, we're starting to bake in auto completion within the runtime itself.
Oh,
so
cool.
you can ask the attached instance for specific entries, and it's a work in progress. But right now it'd be C tags, and then there's a VS Code plugin, and I'm working on a company mode that allows for auto completion based on the current state of the system itself. So you can kind of see that in action. Of course, we have an embedded web server, but you've got your console, and then you can effectively over HTTP, similar to what you would do with an LSP environment, get specific things from the runtime itself.
Nice.
But it's a work in progress, and right now the stopgap is C tags.
Cool.
Okay, I hate to be the guy, but we crossed the 1 hour mark. But before TJ gives us his amazing outro, Amir, what the short version, your setup, we all know this. It's not complete yet.
Yep.
What's missing? What will you add?
I think, man, I don't know about that keyboard. So far, things are pretty good. There might be a 3D printer in the future.
Nice.
Maybe, I don't know yet. I'm waiting for the new Emacs, but it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good.
If you could magically, wave a wand, as Thorsten usually asks, and you could just upgrade, like, let's say there's a piece of hardware that doesn't exist yet. Is there like some hardware that if tomorrow, someone came out and was like, we've got this monitor that didn't exist before, or this thing, that you would be like, that's the thing I need. What would be the magic wand wave for that?
I think it would be a 49-inch that actually had high density pixel doubling at the 3840 by 5000 screen. So you're looking at a display that has a density of 10,000 pixels across, because then that will get you your high DPI at 720p for 3 vertical splits. That would be really, really nice. And then that brings up the opportunity to bring back dual 49s for the real estate. But yeah, someone make that and make it cheap. It's cheap. The other parting remark that I would probably say is that philosophically, the whole journey that I'm taking is based on this idea that I'm going to be programming for the rest of my life, right? So every iteration, every improvement that I make, every dive into the bowels of Emacs comes at that upfront investment to learn and deal with these pains, so that over time, this environment becomes home to me. And it's not worth doing if it's just you want to code for a little bit and then move to management. Don't do this. But if you plan to do it for 40 years, your ROI and the investments that you're making up front will pay dividends over a long enough timeline. And that's what's important.
That's a fantastic closing thought. TJ, you need to...
I need to outdo that. I don't know if I can outdo it, but
try.
I'll say the only other thing that I think about too is it's fun to explore and do these things, right? So even if sometimes the investment doesn't pay off because you made some mistake or whatever, it can be fun to do the journey, and that's an exciting part and a big, I don't know, blessing in my life that I get to explore doing those things for fun. So with that, I'll give us a close. Thanks, Amir, again for hanging out with us and for showing some stuff. I've got some new ideas that maybe I need to explore for hardware and or maybe eye tracking. It seems pretty useful for streaming. Thanks for hanging out as well, Thorsten, today. I know at least Connie in the chat is very excited to see you, and we're awaiting your streaming on Sourcegraph for live coding. Next show in 2 weeks, we will be hanging out with the Primogen and doing dev tool time with him and me and Thorsten, and it should be a very great time. We're looking forward to that, and thanks everybody for hanging out.